investors, Ray, what is your take on our relationship with China right now, and how do you perceive it moving forward?
Well, every empire rises and declines. For those who are interested, I studied this. I needed to study for reserve currency, so I studied this going back 500 years, and it's on LinkedIn. It's called The Changing World Order. You could see the patterns, and you could see what's happening. China has gone from, I started going there 36 years ago. They were dirt poor. I would bring a calculator and give it to gifts like CEOs, and they thought they were miracle devices. Now they are, in many ways, in AI and quantum computing and so on, at a comparable type of level. So China, by all measures of its power and prosperity, is a very, very strong competitor. So now you have the leading empire. 1945, we created the American world order because we won World War II. And so we had a new monetary system and so on. And now we're having a challenge of that, partially because of Chinese, but partially also how we're handling ourselves. I mean, we're not doing great in handling ourselves in a lot of the most basic ways. So yes, we have that conflict. In China's, I would say it's I've had a lot of contact there over decades. And I really believe it's an evolutionary process. There are certain things from the Chinese perspective. They would believe if you can't suppress or compress me, that would be their view, that the United States is trying to do that. I suspect there will be tensions. And the question is whether, one side becomes too confrontational to let evolution take its course. But it's true that evolution is more on China's side than our side, although it really depends whether we can get our basics right. And our basics are things like broad-based public education, the quality of education, civility of the people. Do people work together in a civilized way, or are they at each other's throats? And, innovation and, those things. So China is a very exciting place. If you spend time there and you see what's going on with entrepreneurship, the creation of new businesses, new investment in things, and there's an energy, and it's quite something.
Let me ask you a couple questions about Bridgewater and about you, Ray. First of all, Bridgewater, it was a bit of a choppy year last year for the firm. How are things shaping up this year? How's David McCormick treating you?
Oh, David's a star. So yeah, you're referring to this transition, which is, I think, the most beautiful thing. It's not easy to start off and make a founder-owned company, let's say, founder company, to then be able to transition and to be sort of a mentor and CIO, but and to let the talent rise. And I'm very, very, very lucky to have Dave McCormick in that role. And we have a team. The investors, Bob Prince has been with me, I think it's been 34 years, something like that. Greg Jensen's been with me for 26, 20, I don't know, a lot of, decades. We will fight like hell, but we're together and so on. And so I'm at 71. And the most beautiful thing for me is to complete that arc. And, that's what we're doing. We're doing it together. So it's doing great, and we're learning. But you're right. The second quarter, the pandemic caught us. We, in prior years, we never had, I don't know how many years we had no losses. And again, there's an alpha fund and a beta fund. But anyway, in the first half, but for the most part, that all rebounded, and we learned a lot. So I think it's good. I think it's good on all of those fronts.
What about some of the thinking that you're now famous for, Ray? Meditation, radical transparency, your principles. Have any of those changed in recent history, maybe because of the pandemic, changes in society? What is your latest thinking when it comes to some of those facets?
Well, I just want to, yeah, the things you mentioned hasn't changed at all. And I really want to pass that along. At my stage in my life, the main thing I'm doing is want to pass things along that have been valuable to me. I mean, that's why I'm doing the interview. And so meditation, wow, that has, I started that about 50 years ago, and that has given me the equanimity when things come at me to deal with those well. It also gives creativity because one goes into one's subconscious, and that's where the creativity comes from. It's like if you take a hot shower, the great ideas come to you, and it's not because you muscle it. So that's been valuable. And this, the Bridgewater, the culture has been and is an idea meritocracy. In other words, let the best ideas win out, in which the goals are meaningful work and meaningful relationships. So you're excellent at the work. And then also, if you have the relationships, that reinforces the work, and it reinforces, and the mission with people you like and you care about, that's powerful. And through radical truthfulness and radical transparency. Radical truthfulness means, like, we're going to be totally honest with each other. It may be brutally honest, but misinformation, because you've got this scenario going on in your head, but you don't really know what the other person's thinking, is dysfunctional. And it also means that you don't build trust. If you're in a political organization and that guy's acting really nice guy, high five and so on, but it's not going on the same behind the scenes, that undermines trust. So those have been the things. The thing that I learned the best, and I learned from failure. I learned from my failure. 1982, I expected a big debt crisis that was going to cause problems. That was the bottom in the stock market. I couldn't have been more wrong. And that gave me the humility to realize that what I think in my head, or what any one individual thinks in their head, might be wrong. And the markets help you understand that. And so the idea of having others stress test each other with that
Right.
radical truthfulness and that strategical transparency raises the ability. So I'd say whatever Bridgewater's success has been, it's been because of that way of operating.
It's a good segue to my final question to you, Ray, and that has to do with your legacy. Would you want to be known as a thought leader or as an investor, or maybe it's both?
I don't care what I'm known as. I don't think anybody will actually remember anybody, because think about, like, how many people do you remember from a generation ago? Think about the rock stars, the movie stars, the other famous people. They all disappear. We all disappear. The legacy, the way I view legacy, is what is the gift that you're passing along? And the things that I want to pass along in that are these kind of principles, like how does the machine work? How does reality work? And how does one interact with reality to get what one wants? Those are what I mean by principles. And they don't have to be my principles. We're all on a discovery to try to find out what is reality, how does it work, and how do we interact with it well. And that's what those are the things. So I wrote one book, Principles. I wrote another book, which is Principles for Understanding Big Debt Crises. I'm writing the other ones, which has to do with the changing world order, those principles. And I'm writing these actually, like, for my grandkids. As well as everybody else. I've got them in mind, like when I'm not around, it can almost deal with anything. When you're thinking about your job or whatever, here's some of the things that might be of helpful. But most importantly, you should have your own principles and think about them well. So I pass along those principles, like pain plus reflection equals progress, and so on. Don't get caught up in your own head. Have radical truthfulness and radical transparency. Those are the most important things. Your approach to life, one's approach to life is the most important thing. And when you start to understand that each person has their nature, what do you know your nature? And then once you know your nature and you're on a journey to find your click, find the fit, that is the thing that allows your nature to flourish, and deal with other people when they know their nature. Those are the most important principles, I think. That's what I'm trying to pass along. If it lives beyond me without ever me being referred to, that'd be great.
Okay, Ray Dalio, founder, co-chairman, and co-chief investment officer at Bridgewater Associates. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Randy.